All right. Hello, everyone. Oh. There she is. Hi, Danielle. How are you? All right. Everything lined up. All right. I think we are ready to go. Let me my wife just left, and so she left the door open. It's cold. Let me go shut it. Hold on. Okay, we're back. All right. Welcome everyone. Hey, I'm Will. Excellent. Welcome to everyone to my name's Kurt, and I'm a dad who loves to draw, and this is our Monday night live, and we are going to go over our weekly challenge here. I picked out this lovely little elf house. I think it's a lot of fun. There's a tremendous amount of character in it, and so we're gonna walk through that very slowly this evening. It will be a little bit easier, I believe, than hitting up the faces, drawing the portraits like we often do. And I'm also going to talk about drawing some trees, because those are also, we use those all the time in so much of the different landscapes that we create, and it's just really helpful to get used to drawing trees. So let's go ahead and without further ado, get started here. As you can see on my, I have the little elf house here, and right now, first thing I'm going to do is to get rid of that and show you, let's practice some drawing some trees here and kind of talk about how we do that. So a lot of times, trees I like to think of similar as clouds, and if we think of volume, that helps us to really get a sense of a tree. So if you were an architect, a lot of times architects draw plans, and so they will, if you were looking down on top of an architectural plan or a landscape idea, a lot of times they will draw these bushes and trees and do this sort of thing to indicate, hey, a tree is going here. Okay, and they might do different types to make suggestions of how a landscape architectural drawing might look, and they draw it from a top view standpoint. But there's something we can learn about that, in that the most simple idea of a tree is really a round sphere on top of a trunk. And if we start off with that basic idea, we could start to form in our mind the sense of how round something is. So if we were to take generally a sphere and light it. We've talked about this multiple times, where we have our sphere, and we talk about how when we shade a sphere, the shade is on one side because the light is reflecting off the ground, and it's adding a bounce back, where light is bouncing off the ground and lights the bottom section of a sphere. Well, in a sense, a tree is no difference, in that if light is coming from one side, we can begin to shade our tree also on one side. And trees are also going to get some bounce back. So this is the most simplest way that we can think of a tree. Of course, now we also have a trunk system, and that trunk is going to have some texture, and we can always add surface lines to help us understand that trunk system. And we can add almost like roots coming out, and that will also help read that as a tree as well, because of the roots. So let's take this idea and explore it a little bit more, get a little more complicated now, all right? So let's just say we're going to start with another simple process here. Here's our sphere of our tree, but on the sphere we actually have another sphere right here, and then we have another one right over here. You see that? And then our trunk's coming around here like this. And maybe instead of we have a smaller trunk coming from this side over here. And now we have some variation going on. We have some of our roots coming at the base of that tree. And as I draw the roots, of course, I'm thinking of an oval, because these roots are reaching out. And then when I shade the tree, if I start thinking of, this is going to be shade over here, this is going to be in shade over here, and of course this part of the tree is going to be in shade. And then I might have another group of leaves behind all of that. That's going to be in shade. And then I might have another group of leaves back in here. So it just keeps playing into this idea that we keep thinking of this idea of mass. Mass and volume. Just in case if someone is brand new and they haven't seen what we're talking about here, let's quickly discuss surface lines, okay? And this is a great example. I've brought this up many times before, but if it's your first time, that's totally okay. So what I mean by surface lines is the texture that is created as you walk around a surface. So in this case, look at this. We'll have tree A and tree trunk B here. And on A, if I do my surface lines like this, and then I get to this trunk and I go the opposite way, by adding the surface lines, I give a sense that this is going back in space. And if I go this other way, I can make this branch come forward. You see that? Now in B, let's go the opposite. Let's draw it this opposite way here. Opposite, so it's opposite than A, and this one will make this one go back. You see? So by using the use of surface lines, we can give the illusion that something not only has a lot of depth, but we can make it go back or come forward from just its. We could take a shape, that Y shape, and give it a lot of dimension. So once I have this this tree and shape here, now I could come in here and start to add some detail. Just by adding a few leaves. I don't have to put every, it's just, it's like drawing hair. You don't want to draw all the hair, the individual leaves, but in groups of leaves, just to give the idea. Daniel, what happened to our friend Russell? He must be taking a break tonight. So as you can see, I'm starting to add some leaves to my tree, and it really gives a sense of volume. Now, we could continue to look at this in more detail and keep adding more detail, and you could just see it would continue to develop. All right, let's look at a couple other ideas here, okay? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save that. I'm actually going to... Okay, let's look at other tree situations. So here's another example. Trees are great because you could really get away with some different branches, different trunks. This one might be considered like a bonsai, where the trunk kind of comes up like this. You see, maybe there's a branch coming off the side here, and then maybe this is the big canopy going over here. You see this? We got something going on over here. So a lot of this is I'm using reference, but I am drawing lightly, so I can come back in with some detail later on. So I want to keep it really, yeah, he is asleep. I want to keep it really loose, just like everything else at this beginning stages here. So let's just come in here now and add a couple branches that are showing up. And then in the trunk here, I'm going to add some, like, just some of the bark that's kind of coming up, surface lines. Some leaves maybe here. Again, thinking of like what's on top, thinking of volume here. Thinking of volume. Thinking of objects that are in front of other objects. You could even start to add some tone in the background. To use silhouette. My light's still coming in from this direction up there. So I'm definitely thinking of that. You could even vary the opacity by holding lighter on your pencil. Oops, that's a little too dark there. So a lot of it is very gestural for me, and I'm just keep adding more and more detail. But I'm thinking of volume. Constantly thinking of volume. What shape is on top of other shapes? Using surface lines to help tell the story. Let's draw another one. I'm going to draw another tree, but I'm going to draw it right next to this one, okay? So this could be more of a bonsai type of tree, all right? Let's say we have a long... Somebody asked in the group, and I can't remember who it was, about an aspen tree. So I failed to get a picture of an aspen tree, but we'll just make one up. Again, the same idea here. One other thing I was thinking of when you're drawing trees, when it comes especially to branches, you know, we have this idea of a tapered line where it's thick on one end and it tapers. and our branches just keep branching off and get smaller and smaller as they extend from that taper. And I think aspen trees have these little stripes where the bark is peeling off sometimes. Again, I'm thinking of these things as spheres, so they have volume. And overlap. On the ground here, I'm adding some grasses. Constantly working overlap. I think another thing I was just thinking as I'm drawing these is, we this came up at some point talking about when we're facing something that is chaotic, our mind likes to make order of it. So we will have a habit of making things perfectly even, and in nature we want to avoid, and we want to be careful that we don't make things perfectly even. So in this case we might put 2 together and then 3 over here. So we're constantly working with grouping. A little trick, maybe, if I haven't said it before, to work with grouping is, let's just take the example of grouping together some rocks. If you want to have a nice variation of rocks, you would think like, okay, this is the father rock, and then this is the mother rock, and then there's a little kid, and maybe they have a couple little babies, and then you have a brother over here. So if you think of when you're grouping objects together in this family type of relationship of sizes, it can help you get a lot of variation in your size, so that you don't keep making everything the exact same size. This here is far more interesting to look at than this is down here. We're going to see this more in nature than we will of this example down here. But our mind always wants to keep bringing things back to this, and we want to avoid that. So we want to think of this up on top. This is a much better approach, especially in nature here. Work in threes. That's a good example. Okay, any questions? Any questions on that? I'm going to go ahead and move on to our elf drawing here, our elf house. And if you have a question, feel free to just throw that in the chat there, and we'll jump on that. All right. I just want to check one thing here. Okay. All right, let's take a look at our house here. So our house is going to be up against a tree, and we know that that tree is round already. So let's just kind of put in the side of our tree. All right, and remember this first part is going to be somewhat gestural. Okay, so we are going to start off with gesture, and then we go into construction, and then we're going to go into the to likeness or detail. Okay, so if I have my tree started here, I'm going to think of how does this thing attach to the tree. So essentially what we're talking about here is it's going to be a triangle like this. And this triangle is going to be coming almost off like this. And if I'm going to continue that idea, it's going to be down here and down here. If I connect this, so it was a solid mass. There's my general construction line of my tree, of my elf house. Just trying to bring it down into simple volumes. Simple volumes is what I'm going for here. I could see just by looking at this, I'm going to rough in maybe where my door is going to be. Next, my window. I know that I'm looking here at the peak of my roof, and I see my peak is coming out here, but then it's gonna taper all the way back here like this. You see? And it's gonna taper over here as well, like this. Keeping it really light here. If I look at the patio or the platform, I could see that it's like cutting in just a little bit here, and it's coming around like this. I could see that it's going to have this branch that is coming up here, and I'm just going to rough it in here. It's going to curve up there, cut through the floor, just keeping it nice and loose and light. You know, we're kind of jumping in our gesture and construction simultaneously. Our ladder is coming up here, and I'm kind of it's going to come in here like this, and my other part of the ladder is going to come in here like this, and then he's going to have these little the ladder part. I don't know, what do you the rungs of the ladder. And then we've got some stones here. So let's drop some stones in here. Gesture, just keeping it gesture. I'm going to make mine just a little bit smaller here. Okay. And then I've got this big root, this root that's coming in here. It's circling around, so I just, right now I'm just kind of throwing in I'm thinking volume, but I'm throwing in shape at the same time. All right, so we have another kind of root coming down here. I could see another one there. Okay. And I think I'm going to make the peak of my roof to come out a little bit further than what I'm going to make that adjustment. And then I could see that we have this little bit of string that is keeping everyone safe so they don't fall off the edge, right? We also have a little bit of thickness for these boards here. And then we have a nice log or a stick that's coming out here, and that looks like the whole thing is kind of built on. So I'm going to emphasize, I'm going to put the end so I can actually see it, but in the picture I can't see it. So I'm going to add it to mine because I think that's far more interesting. And then on the far end here, I can see the tree is starting to stick out as well. All right. So I think I'm pretty good here. This is my, this is a good rough in. It has a lot of structure to it. So, you know, I'm kind of past the gesture. I've got some nice proportion going. So I can start getting into some of the detail now. All right. So we have our roof here. And I'm looking at these tiles. And let's, you know, we're going to have these pieces of bark. Looks like they put together. And I don't want to rush it. I want to go slowly here. If I rush it, a lot of times it will get sloppy, and I don't want that. When I'm putting these tiles on, I want to think of them laying on the side of this roof. And then I could see the other side. This other side has it looks like a log or a stick that is helping to hold this roof up. That branch is coming out there. And this would be a good one to add some surface lines to. And we can get the other side of the roof down here. I see there's a thickness. All right. Another nice thing about drawing a drawing like this, it's unlike drawing a face, is you can get away with a lot of different small details because we have no point of reference of what is right. But when it comes to a face, we can automatically see what's right or what is wrong. Adding these little sticks here. And of course this door frame is framed up with a couple round little sticks, and I'm going to add some type of hinges. And then let's get this cute little window poking in here. All right. And then let's look at this. He has this bundle of wood. So let's draw that. It's like almost like a cube. There's the base of it. Getting in further sticks here to try and get a sense of volume here. And I'm gonna, something that's not on the drawing, it might be there, but I'm gonna add these little lashing marks that somehow that was used for some type of rope to lash these together. Add some surface lines to that trunk coming out there. This tree comes underneath here. Then we have these stones. So let's work on these stones here. So when I'm drawing stones, I'm thinking of planes or the different surfaces. So on this one we have a top surface and then the side. All right, we have another one underneath and it's kind of jutting out like this. Add some shadow under here. And this last one is more round. Okay. All right, so we've got this. Let's take a close look at this this root that's in front of this, and let's bring that. Let's bring that in by using overlap, and let's look at it closely here. And I can see that there's some smaller roots on top of it. I'm using surface lines, but I'm not going over the whole entire log. I'm just giving an indication. I do that to help you let the imagination kind of fill in the gap sometimes. All right, so we've got another one coming over here. And this one kind of comes down in the grass, in the leaves. And it gets pretty dark over here. I'm going to add some tone. More tone, and what's nice by adding this tone, I'm getting these rocks to pop off the page by adding some tone behind them. All right, here's another one. And then we have one way in the back here. And I'm just kind of looking at the pattern of the bark and just not quickly drawing lines, but I'm thinking of this pattern of this bark here. Surface lines on the front of my platform here. This will give it a real sense that this is going down. How's that looking? Yeah, not too bad. All right, I'm getting pretty close here of like switching over to start adding some shadow or some tone to the area. So I think I'm going to do that. So first thing I'm going to do, I think, is just kind of tone the tree in the back. And this has a little bit of a shadow, so I'm going to add that back here and make my brush smaller there. And then I'm going to really darken it in up here. I'm starting to think of like contrast. Where is the contrast happening? All right. I'm going to darken in these windows here. Because this little guy is out and about. I'm going to add some shadow underneath the windowsill. And I'm going to add some shadow on this log. All right, that's coming out quite nice. Going back in and just adding some more detail, and I'm gonna actually start adding some grasses and things. Sticks and maybe some debris on the ground here. Surface lines on top of that, on top of the platform there. And I think I'm about ready to call it a day on this one. Let's see, let me see what layer I'm at. Okay, so I've been drawing on the shadow layer. Well, and let me drop a shadow underneath here. Oops. Drop a shadow underneath this house here, huh? And then I'm going to go back in with my eraser and erase out some highlights on this ladder. All right. I think that does it. That about does it here. Danielle, do you have any questions? Huh? I'm looking forward to seeing what you did. All right. I think that about does it for tonight. Oh, you're good. Perfect. Yeah, that was. Did you find that easy? That's easier than drawing a head, wouldn't you say? I'm sure you thought it was easier. Of course it's easier. Anyways, well, hey, post your work tomorrow. I look forward to seeing it, and that's it. So great job. Thank you for watching. I'm Kurt. I'm a dad who loves to draw, and we will see you in our. We have a Facebook group. We have a web page. There's a great PDF that you could download about sketchbook habits. I'll put that in the description below. But other than that, we'll be back on Wednesday night for our live head drawings, portrait drawing. So check us out then. And that is it. I will see you on Wednesday night. Okay. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.